Hello, and thank you for calling the Higher Self Hotline, your direct line to the divine. You've been led here by your inner knowing, and you've arrived right on cue. I'm your host, Zoey Greco, and together we'll make the ethereal earthly, helping you consciously embody your spiritual knowing and most authentic self. Please listen carefully to the following options. To discover how to fulfill your soul's purpose, press 1. To unlock infinite abundance in life, love, and career, press 2. To heal your mind, body, and spirit, press 3. To speak with your personal spirit guides, press 0. Please hold while we connect you to your highest timeline. Hi friends, just dropping in to let you know that my October and November schedule for client sessions is now open. If you've been feeling the call to shift into deeper alignment, authenticity, abundance, and activation, this isn't just your sign, but this is an invitation from my higher self to yours. As my personal token of gratitude for your loyal listenership, I'm sharing a secret code created only for my podcast community because you are my true soul family and the people that I am genuinely born to serve. There is something special between us, a resonance that you already feel if you find yourself coming back week after week. And I want to acknowledge and honor that connection. And I'm hoping that you'll use this code as your permission slip to invest in yourself and in this experience. Head to zoegreco.com to book your session and enter higher self at checkout to save 10%. I would be deeply honored to walk with you, and I can't wait to see you in session. Hello, divine darlings, and welcome back to the Higher Self Hotline. I'm your host, Zoey Greco. Thank you so much for joining me today. And welcome back to another installment of Let Me Ask My Psychic. I am so excited to be here with you today. So excited to tap in, answer your questions, tell you about the numerological forecast for November, and of course, tell you a little bit about what's been going on with me. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I think we should start as usual with what has been happening in my world. I have had some pretty high highs, some pretty weird mediums, and a few low lows. Let's start with the lows and end on the highs because I want to leave us on a nice note. So lows have been mostly just physical, actually. So if you guys have been listening for a while, you know that I have PCOS and PMDD. So if you're not familiar with those two conditions, polycystic ovarian syndrome and premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So my hormonal health journey has been very rocky. For a couple of years between 2020 and 2023, I was on different hormone therapy to try and address it. And that ended up just actually being, I think, worse for me. I really struggled emotionally during that time. It was really a difficult thing for me to regulate my emotions, just because my hormones were so out of whack. And for the past couple of years, for the past 2 years, I felt like that was kind of more under control. I had actually stopped taking hormone therapy, and that felt like a big relief. It really changed my relationship with my body. I was feeling more in a natural sync and rhythm with, my cycle and the way that my personal body operates. And I think as I'm getting older, my hormones are shifting and changing. And so I'm starting to feel misaligned there, a little bit unstable. And so this was the first month that I've had to kind of really face those feelings and some of those really low lows that come with PMDD and PCOS, just that inability to regulate. So I did make an appointment with a doctor. The appointment hasn't come quite yet, but I will keep you guys posted for sure. I think the thing that's been really beautiful and really important about this is that in the past, when I was having these hormonal experiences, I couldn't recognize them for what they were. I literally took, and if you're a menstruating human out there, if you have a cycle yourself, you know how absolutely wrecked you can get during luteal. You just are unhinged, unwell. And the thoughts that can come up for you, for me, last quite a bit longer and are just more persistent and consistent. And in the past, I couldn't distinguish that voice from my voice or my truth or who I actually am as a person. And so I had a lot of really false beliefs about myself and false narratives and stories and things that I would tell myself The one that I kept coming back to a lot, which I think is really funny, if you ever listen all the way through the episodes, you'll hear me tell you that you're important and you matter. And the thing that my like hormonal monster tells me is that I don't matter, that like I don't matter, my work doesn't matter, nothing I do matters, like I'll never achieve my dreams or like amount to anything, which is like already not true, you know? So in the past, that voice would really get at the clutches in me, really hold me down. And now I feel fortunate enough to be able to recognize that for what it is, know what it is, and go, oh, sorry, I'm not buying that. No, thanks. I'm not doing that. But that doesn't change the fact that it's still there for me and still very present. So I'm really looking forward to exploring treatment that could work more effectively for me so that I can get support without the sort of immense and difficult side effects that I was receiving in the past. I just didn't have the right care. I didn't have a doctor that really listened to me. And I really feel pretty confident about the doctor that I'm starting this journey with now. So like I said, I'll keep you guys posted and let you know what's happening. But definitely I would say like the hormones really got to me this past month, and it was a little bit dense and a little bit heavy. Now, obviously, I'm also, currently being mentored, as you guys have now met my mentor, who's wonderful. And that can be quite a confronting process as well. So sometimes like the awarenesses that show up for me in that space combined with some of my like hormonal lows can just feel a little intense and a little heavy and painful. Like it turns up the dial on something that's maybe already a little bit intense. So I would say that I still grew a lot and found a lot of joy in that space this month. But again, it was just like there was this extra level of density that I had to navigate in that space. But otherwise, work has been incredible. I have had one of the best months I've had in so long. I have a very exciting announcement to share with you. But first, I just feel like the client sessions that I've had in October were stellar, above and beyond, just joy after joy after joy, finding the most aligned experiences, the most aligned sessions, the most aligned client relationships, just blowing me out of the water day in and day out. I also conducted several interviews for the podcast this past month in October with some people that you'll be hearing from soon. And I cannot begin to express how overjoyed and proud I am of the conversations that we've had on the season. The guests that we've had the privilege of bringing to you have been nothing short of just absolutely amazing. When I think through, because we're beginning to come toward the end of the season, it will end in December, but we're going to do our best just to roll into a brand new one in January so we don't have to have a little hiatus. But thinking back on this season, I mean, we've had Eileen, we've had Taylor, John Prince, like the perception coach. That is one that every time I see his content every single day, I feel so overjoyed to have built that relationship. People that you have not yet heard from who will be coming on this season, the conversations that I've had recently that you'll be hearing soon are some of my favorites. And the deep and profound personal connections that I was able to make with these individuals has been utterly life-changing. I'm overflowing with joy. I'm overflowing with peace at this place that I've arrived at in my life where I'm creating relationships with people that I've long admired, but also building really strong and genuine connections from just showing up authentically as myself with these individuals and being met and received with such love and support, and even some of the conversations that happen off camera between myself and these individuals and like what it can potentially lead to on a personal level, professional level has just been so thrilling and so exciting. So that has been honestly some of the highest highs. And I've just been so invested in those working relationships and growing those connections and really aligning myself with other practitioners and facilitators and creators who are really doing this work from the most genuine space and the most, I would say, like pure position of service, and also doing so in service to themselves. That is just such a beautiful example for me. And I feel like this season in particular, I've connected with people who I not just admire, but I can really learn from and grow from knowing and connecting with. And so there's just these beautiful symbiotic relationships that are forming that I'm calling into my reality and claiming with my full heart and finding so much joy and satisfaction in. So I can't wait for you to hear some of those conversations. Alexis Smart is one of those individuals. Maddie Murphy is one of those individuals. And man, there's just so much goodness coming your way. I can't wait for you guys to hear those conversations and sit in on those experiences and receive the medicine and the magic that I also received in those sessions and those experiences. The client sessions, oof, get ready. Those are continuing to be bop after bop, baby. I mean, those are every single session this season has actually been one from private client sessions that I have requested and asked, can we use this on the show? Because as you know, we receive applications all the time and those are deeply, profoundly considered. The sessions that are already occurring are so medicinal and potent that I feel like they just need to be seen and need to be experienced. And so that's been amazing to have my clients be willing to share their voice and their path with all of you. So I can't thank them enough for the medicine that we've been able to bring forward this season either. So just finding a lot of joy and satisfaction in the pod and the work that we're doing here and just making this everything it can be. I think, you know, we have such a strong team behind the podcast right now. We've got Tish, the producer, who is really helping to make this something special. We've got Mike, our editor and sound engineer. And something you guys don't know actually is that in the meditations, whenever it's possible, Mike actually goes out and records those special sounds, whether it's like bird sounds or ocean waves. Mike really takes his equipment into nature and captures true magic specifically for us to experience here. And sure, you can find like recorded sounds to download and use online. But the fact that Mike goes so above and beyond to not only provide the best quality of, editing and video that we can provide, but to go so far as to bring you the most authentic experience possible. Everyone that's working on the show right now is just so in alignment, and I feel so supported and so loved and so grateful to have the partnerships that I have and the relationships that I'm building in the business, outside of the business, through the business. And just really feeling, especially in October, it was an 8-month for me. Like business was really a focus for me. So obviously we had a lot of fun, some amazing things, some, Halloween celebrations you've probably seen on Instagram, went out for some wonderful dinners to celebrate friends and their birthdays. But mostly Ethan and I have just been like nose to the grindstone, working 7 days a week, like putting in the work because we love what we do. And we're in a season of deep investment, which is not just financial, it's energetic and emotional and personal as well. So a lot of really beautiful joy being created through work that we're doing and being in such devotion. And it feels really good to be in a season like that when my partner is also in a season like that. So, at the end of the night, after we've had some dinner and a little bit of time to wind down, we kind of look at each other like, I have a little bit of work I should do. And he's like, yeah, me too. And so it feels good that we're not neglecting one another. We're in deep agreement that right now our missions need us and we can do that work side by side. And that feels really good and really safe. Like I don't have any fear around the amount of time and energy I have to pour into my business right now because it's really understood and mirrored in my partner and in my partnership as well. So that feels just really good and satisfying and satiating for me as well. And I guess last but certainly not least, I have a very exciting announcement to share with you guys. So you've been hearing me talk about the way that my work is going to be shifting and changing in relationship to the way that I've been shifting and changing. And I have been really doing a lot of internal work to make sure that the decision that I make moving forward feels as aligned as possible and allows me to really think of and consider myself in my work for the first time ever, but also still be of the deepest level of service that I can possibly be. And how can I be of deep service and stand in my highest calling? And what does that look like? And how does that feel? And so as I've taken the time to really dive in and explore that and figure it out and let it take shape and let it become something beautiful and profound, the vision of what that is much more clear to me now. And so I'm excited to share with you that I will be concluding my sessions in the way that I have been holding sessions on my birthday. I've decided to give myself the birthday gift. So on April 3rd, 2026, it will be the last time that you will be able to book sessions with me in the way that sessions are currently being experienced on that kind of on-demand basis. Now, this will be shared as well with my community. So like if you're a client, don't fret. If you are a client that's on a package right now, if you've invested in, a package of sessions with me, don't worry. You still have 6 months basically to conclude those with me. But even if you buy a package on April 2nd, 2026, you can still redeem those sessions for up to a year after. So I'm helping people sort of wean off of that experience of working with me in that way, but I'm substituting it for something that feels much more true and more profound and more in alignment with what I'm truly here to provide and do. And part of that is not really identifying as a psychic anymore. And that's not to say that I'm going to cease to be psychic or to cease to be intuitive. That is a part of who I am that will never stop. And the work that I provide people will still be intuitively led and guided and use all of my psychic power. However, I am beginning to identify more as a mentor. And that feels really important to me because now that I've been doing this work for a decade, I feel like there is a new level of the work that I'm ready to experience. And I'm also ready to pass the baton in many ways to people who feel like they have big callings and big missions in this life, to people who feel like they are ready to step into layers of practitionership and layers of leadership, but most importantly, layers of authenticity. I'm really ready to open up a portal and a space to support people in shedding and unmasking from everything that is inauthentic, misaligned, that keeps you small, that has kept you safe, and instead open yourselves up to living your most intuitively led, authentic, fulfilling, true, liberated existence. And what will that look like? It will look like a 9-month container working with me in an unlimited capacity. You will have unlimited access to me. You can schedule as many one-on-ones as you want. You can speak to me day in and day out through a couple different mediums. There will be group calls weekly for all the individuals in the container. We're going to have a weekly mastermind where we can talk about our process and where we are and support one another, but mostly I'll be there to provide guidance, but there'll be guidance that comes from each of you as well, because who and what is drawn into this container energetically will always be divine. The door will remain open. I'm not going to do this like gimmicky launch, put it out there, the doors close, create urgency sort of stuff. I'm not willing to do any of that style of marketing, no matter how I'm guided by my team or how it's instructed to me outside of that space. I know what my community needs, and it is an open door. It is an open door. And so whenever you feel ready to come in and enter that space, you are welcome in that space. And that space will meet you in every need that you have. It is a conscious collective container that is moved by those who enter. It is moved by where I'm at in my personal journey and what I'm able to provide. But it is for those who have always felt like they are sensitive, hypersensitive, empathetic, spiritually gifted, too much, people who feel called towards something big, purposeful, and powerful in their lives and want support in feeling safe and prepared to step into that calling. It is meant to be a space where you can practice being that self before you have to go out in the world and be that self. Because often what has occurred is that the world has told us who we shouldn't be, which is often who we actually are. And so I want to give you a space to be who you already are in love and non-judgment and safety and support, practical support to build new beliefs and new nervous system regulation around being that person. And it will include everything from personal advice, professional advice, and everything in between, because I'm here to help you realize selfhood in every capacity. So I will be sending out some invitations to that experience to those who I've already worked with that I think will be an amazing fit. And for those of you who are interested in having a discussion with me about whether or not you feel that you're a fit for this opportunity, you can connect with me at zoegreco.com/discover, and you can schedule a free call with me so we can just sit down and talk about, is this right for you? Is entering this container right for you? And that's really important to me because there is no scarcity and there is no shortage. And I am not eager or afraid about filling this container. I'm far more concerned about making sure that it is right for you, but also that it is right for me. So this is a sacred agreement, a soul contract, and a soulmate level connection that we are stepping in to fulfill. And we need to make sure that it is truly in alignment. So if you're interested in this offering, go ahead and visit zoegreco.com/discover, and you can step into a free discovery call with me to figure out if that is a space where we belong together. But I have a feeling that if you're feeling called, then it is, but we'll find out. So no pressure, but a lot of joy and a lot of excitement. The container will kick off in January, no matter how many people are in it. And I'm actually looking forward to hopefully a little bit of a slow rollout with like a small intimate container, so we can really just dive in as deeply and just as closely, connectedly, intimately as possible and do this work in really profound ways. And as the container grows and expands to involve more people can arrive. But I will say I am capping it at about 15 people. That feels like the right number. I can hold 15 people in the container at a time, and anything outside of that will have to look different. So thank you so much for receiving this information. Thank you so much for listening and allowing me to change and grow. I have to say that, nearly 2 years ago now, when I decided to take off the Merhipsy mask and stop being who I thought I needed to be to do this work, and instead choose to reacquaint myself with Zoey and who she is and what she's here to do. I've done that process a little messily in front of you guys for the last couple of years, but I also want to just congratulate myself for a second and say, like, it was actually so much more graceful than I like to look back and think. It has been nothing short of miraculous and beautiful and magical and astounding. And it is a process that now that I know so intimately, I am so prepared to take you on as well. And it brings me back to a conversation that we had on the podcast in, I believe, August, where I talked about the caterpillar. And just to refresh your memories, when a caterpillar enters the cocoon, it dissolves into this innately intelligent goo full of these imaginal cells. And the imaginal cells have always been inside the caterpillar, and they hold the blueprint for the butterfly. And my deep desire in the work that I'm here to do is to help you connect intuitively to those very cells inside of you, so that you know that you already are the person that you came here to be, which is why the container is called You Already Are. You already are that person. And we're just going to take off the things that keep you from feeling like you can be that person. The cells are already there. The blueprint for who you're meant to be has been inside of you this whole time. And I know that because I have moved through that process myself, intimately and deeply and thoroughly been living that process. And I am so thrilled and honored to support you in moving through the same process so that you can be that butterfly, so that you can be that most realized, liberated self. So thank you for coming along for the ride. Thank you for letting me have this experience with you. Thank you for 10 years of being of service in such a beautiful, intimate way. And thank you for letting me change my mind and change my approach and change the way that I'm choosing to show up. Thank you for being along for that ride. And thank you for sticking with me as we continue forward and forge into new layers and new versions of growth and expansion together. This does not affect the podcast, by the way. So if you're a podcast listener and not a client, don't worry about it, because we're still going to bring you client sessions. We're still going to be, creating those experiences to share here, because that medicine is important and it is powerful. And maybe there'll be, sessions that are shared from within the container, because everything I do is for you. And so that includes all that I do, every space that I exist. And obviously, just like we do for the show now, we would get permission to share those from anyone that would be impacted. But I want to bring you what's real and continue to share what is real, just as we've been doing this whole time. So that is not going to change. And I think you'll find that many of the things that we've been building over the last 2 years that have kept us really cozy and allowed us into an even deeper level of closeness are just going to continue to grow so that our closeness can grow and our coziness and the intimacy and the vulnerability and the authenticity and the connection that we're building here will just continue to deepen and expand in every direction. So with all of that said, I think it's time for us to dive into the numerology of November. Before we discuss November's collective numerology, I want to explain something important about how the year numerologically progresses in a way that is invaluably important to understand as you explore numerology's influence. Since numerology functions on cycles of 9 in a 12-month year, the first 3 months and the last 3 months of any given personal or collective year repeat. So for the collective, it just so happens that in a year 9, January was a 1, February was a 2, March was a 3. And in the last 3 months of this year, we are revisiting those same numbers in October, November, and December, respectively. As we near the end of this collective year 9, we are revisiting a collective month 2. 2 is a number of emotional sensitivity, heightened intuitive ability, collaboration, and diplomacy. And in many ways, 2 is the number of relating. In the ways that 1 says me, 2 says we. 2 is very patient, forgiving, loving, and very kind. Of all the numbers, I think of 2 as a soft baby lamb. 2 is really the peacemaker and diplomat of numerology, and it really carries a soft, feminine, lunar vibration, which is about being receptive rather than assertive, and about being inward rather than outward. It can be quite a shy number, but potently wise, and with everything it has, it asks us to trust the timing of our lives, to honor our emotions rather than hide them, and act through a sort of empathetic and sensitive pace rather than focusing on how fast we can get where we want to go. 2 governs how we relate, whether that's how we relate to other people, to our intuition, to the unseen undercurrents of energy that move us, and 2 is very adverse to conflict, which we will definitely come back to in a moment. Now, in a year 9, we of course are always working with the themes of completion, conclusion, release, and forgiveness. And we've talked a lot about that this year. What we haven't discussed is that 9 is the old soul of numerology, being the highest number we use besides master numbers. It's been around the block, seen some shit, and tends to have a higher perspective on life because of that experience. 9 is the number of humanitarianism, altruism, and transcendence. So when we think about how 9 governs forgiveness, for instance, it doesn't ask us to forgive so we can close a chapter and move on, but because that's how we truly get free from the burden of holding trauma and heavy emotional baggage. 9 wants to set you free. 9 loves you. So in combination, both of these numbers are very empathetic, understanding, and quick to lead us to forgive and move forward. And that is what this month is all about. Looking back to February, our other and first month 2 of the year, I really encourage you to ask yourself what conflicts arose during that time and what might have been left unresolved, or what processes began in your life that are just beginning to come to a conclusion. For me, Katie and I lovingly parted ways in February, which threw me headfirst into the process of interviewing for my new team members. And finally, this month, I can say that that process is complete. And I am now very settled in with a solid team of people who are truly right for me and my business and the work that I'm here to do, which makes a lot of sense since 2 is the number of teamwork, collaboration, and we energy. So opening that loop in a month 2 and then closing it 9 months later feels right, and it is right. So I really invite you to consider what began for you in February and how those same things or themes are rising back up for you now to be completed or explored or just lived in differently. My favorite thing about yearly numerology is that it gives us a chance to revisit themes from early in the year with nearly a whole year's worth of wisdom and experience that we lacked the first time around. I had no idea how immersive the journey would be to replace and grow my team. And in the last year and a half, I've interviewed nearly 100 people, hired 14 and fired 9, all in the name of trying to find the right fit and the right puzzle pieces to build the picture of my dreams. So In your life, consider what relational patterns are rising up to be transmuted into something more peaceful, diplomatic, aligned, easy, but most of all, true. That said, this is still a larger overarching season of shedding in the year 9. But specifically right now, we're being led to explore what conclusions might need to be brought forward in the realm of relationships. This doesn't mean that we're necessarily needing to cut people out of our lives, though that may happen. We aren't exempt from hard things, but it could be more about how we need to allow the way that we have related to others change and shift. It's like that quote from Perks of Being a Wallflower. We accept the love we think we deserve. And what you believe you deserve has probably changed a lot this year. And now is the time to really bring those sentiments into reality, to be reflected in your connections, whether that's in your family, your friends, with a lover, or even in business. Most especially, we need to reflect on the relationship we have with ourselves and how we can support the different parts of ourselves to no longer feel so splintered and separate, but bring them into unity to be one unified self. How can we get the parts within us to play nicely with one another and exist harmoniously and cohesively so we can transcend inner conflict, which inevitably diminishes and even eliminates outer conflict? The collective is still shaking from the quaking upheaval and demolition of how things have been. And right now, it's important more than ever to find inner peace so that we can be peace in the world and bring that peace to the collective energy. When everything is falling apart, we need to come together. We need to think as a we, and we need to be able to recognize that we are stronger together than apart. That's why we can't allow ourselves to continue to consume divisive content and be driven further from one another. We need to reconnect to humanity, because when all systems crumble and all the king's horses and all the king's men can't put this fuckery back together again, what we will find in the rubble of all that false bullshit that we've been living under and through will be each other. We will be left, and the new earth will be built from us and by us. And we need to begin to find ways to agree on what that will look like. First step is beginning with ourselves, knowing and loving ourselves so we can feel safe to know and love and be loved by each other. And it may sound pie in the sky, but this is the only way that we can rebuild in the name of peace. The last piece of advice to you as you navigate this month is to trust your intuition more than ever before. The veil is thin, and your channel will feel more open than usual in ways that may feel kind of foreign and uncomfy, but I urge you to lean in. Learn to listen to that voice. Give it your time and energy to be witnessed, and do what it asks of you. Your only filter needs to be the question, will this bring me more peace in the long run? And if the answer is yes, then you need to heed that invitation and accept that call, no matter how big or no matter how small. If you want to know more about this month's numerology and how it will impact you personally, head over to ZoeyGreco.com and make sure you're signed up for the newsletters, because I send out your monthly numerology horoscopes straight to your email inbox. But you can also check those out over on Instagram at the Zoey Greco, and I would love to hear from you about how it resonates and how it takes shape in your life over this next month. So, all of that said, I think it's time for another installment of Let Me Ask My Psychic.
Feeling like something's missing in your life? Searching for clarity in the chaos? Unsure of your next move, or just need some wise guidance? It's time for Let Me Ask My Psychic. Right here on the Higher Self Hotline, Zoey Greco is ready to dial into the divine and deliver some heavenly hints just for you. So why not give us a ring at 1-800-HIGH-ANGEL? Because who wouldn't want a little angelic advice?
So let's take our first listener question for today from Mira. Mira has said, "Hi Zoey, I've been listening to you since the Mystic Rebel days." Wow. And I can truly say I am a forever fan. You've been my personal guide without even speaking to me directly for as long as I can remember, but I feel like I finally need some guidance direct from the source, so here I am. Watching the massive pivot you've made this year, I've felt such resonance with that, and I know you're just the person to help me right now. I hope so. Okay. I used to know Oh, she says, I used to know what my purpose was, or at least I thought I did. I built a business around helping people heal. It felt very aligned, sacred, and exactly what I was meant to be doing. But lately, I've been waking up and feeling nothing, like all the magic drained out overnight. I keep thinking maybe I've outgrown this version of service, but then I feel guilty for not feeling lit up by something that once meant everything to me. You talk a lot about how purpose evolves as we do, but what does that look like in real life? How do you know when it's time to let a version of your calling die? And how do you know to trust that something new will come through after? Thank you for being the permission slip I didn't know I needed. Love, Mira. This is an amazing question. And I think you guys have heard me talk about this before, but when this happened for me and when this process began for me, it happened so automatically, almost like non-consensually, like almost without me knowing that that was what was going to happen. It just came out of my mouth like, do you guys think it's time for a rebrand? And to be completely honest with you, the most amazing things, the best things that ever happened to me or through me happened exactly that way, where I'm not overthinking it. I'm not super pressed about it. I'm not worried about it. It's just like, it just comes through like something that is inevitable, that needs to happen, that wants to happen. And the truth is, the feeling that you're feeling, Mira, that feeling of like, it's already not lighting you up, that is your sign. And I understand the feeling of guilt. I truly, truly do. And there have been many times when I've changed my price point or my offerings, especially in this major transition away from one-on-one client sessions into this container space, where I felt like, oh, are there people I'm letting down, people that I'm leaving behind? And the truth is, when we act in our own highest good, it is inevitably in the highest good of everyone else that could be impacted by that, even when in the moment it may not feel that way to them. And I think that's really important to remember. And I've said it many, many, many a time here on the show. It is because that is one of the things that I think we must imperatively live by, is the knowledge and the knowing that if you feel like you are being called in a different direction, if you feel that the work that you're doing is no longer lighting you up, that is something to pay attention to. Because the truth is, anything that is in alignment will not drain you. So if you're feeling burned out, I want you to ask yourself, what is burning me out specifically about this work? Because that is one of the first places to look and go, it's misaligned. If it's not filling your cup, if it's not lighting your fire, if it's not getting you excited, then it's not for you. And you don't have to feel guilty about shifting or evolving or changing. But the truth is, there's no like date that's going to appear on the calendar or the sign that will appear from the heavens. Like, the sign is the way that you feel. The sign is in how you're already feeling about what you're doing. And that goes, frankly, for anything. It goes for a relationship. It goes for a friendship. It goes for a career or a job that you have. Anything, the place that you live, anything that feels like it's draining you, anything that feels like it's not getting you excited is not for you. And you don't have to feel guilty about acknowledging that. If anything, not that you should feel guilty about anything, but neglecting those feelings is actually what creates harm and dissonance in your life. Like, you deserve to acknowledge those feelings with responsive action. You deserve to hear that and heed that calling inside that says, something's not fitting here, something's not working here. I'm ready for something else or something more. And, you know, I think there have been times and seasons in my experience too, where I felt like, do I deserve more? Like, what, how could I possibly want more than I have right now? And that is simply a limiting belief, because the universe is not on a budget. There is an endless supply, an infinite supply of joy, opportunity, abundance, creative energy, inspiration, motivation, connection, fulfillment, expansion available to us at any time. And it is when we feel these feelings that we know the door is open for us to experience those things and receive those things. But it is when we allow guilt to hold us back that we close ourselves off from even recognizing that those doors are present, let alone open. So Mira, it sounds like you're ready for the change. And if you need support figuring out what that change needs to look like, you know where to find me. And I would be more than happy to connect with you more deeply and more intimately on that. But in the meantime, just know what you're feeling is real and important. What you feel is extremely valid, and it is letting you know that you are ready. You don't need anything outside of that to feel certain and sure that you are ready for more. And if you are ready for more, if more is calling you, it is because more is there and more is available, and it is there for you to experience. You deserve it. And I'm excited to watch this journey unfold for you. So please keep us posted, keep writing in and let us know how it's going. Moving on to question number 2. This comes to us from Alexandra. She says, "Hi, Zoey. First off, I love you. Truly, your energy feels like a hug from the universe. Every time you talk about abundance or self-worth, I feel something inside of me soften. Like maybe it's actually safe for me to believe I can have a beautiful, abundant life too. Yes, you can. But here's the thing I can't seem to shake. Whenever money starts flowing in, I feel guilty, like I'm taking more than I deserve." Interesting. We've got a guilt theme going on here today. I didn't even recognize that before now. "Like I'm taking more than I deserve, or that something bad will happen to balance it out," in quotes. "I know that's not how energy works, but it's such a deep pattern for me. How do you personally reframe that guilt and keep your heart open to receiving without fear or shame creeping back in? Forever grateful for your magic, Alexandra." Oof, this is a fabulous question. And I'm glad that we are diving into this topic today, because this is actually something that I myself have recently been navigating, because every time that we up level and we allow ourselves to experience more or receive more, we will have this feeling. So just so you know, when you get these feelings of like guilt or shame or like scarcity of like, oh, something coming in now, but you know, the faucet's going to turn off, like the flow is going to shut off. That lets you know that you are growing. You are growing. You are growing in response to that experience. And that is important to know, that first and foremost, if you're feeling like that sense of guilt, it's because you're already starting to be challenged. That story is already starting to be challenged, and your ego is responding with what it knows. So I would venture to guess that somewhere in your life already, there is flow starting to enter your field, and it's making you feel uneasy because you don't feel deserving of flow. So what I have come to realize myself is that guilt and gratitude cannot coexist. Let me slow down. Guilt and gratitude cannot coexist. And guilt separates us from the energy of receptivity. Gratitude aligns us with the energy of receptivity. So essentially, Alexandra, what you're talking about, this fear that like somehow the universe will balance it out, that is going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the guilt is separating you from the vibration of gratitude. And gratitude is the portal and the gateway to receptivity. You receive more when you can experience gratitude for what you receive, and when you can be just in the simple awareness that you are in receptivity. To be grateful is to know that things are flowing to you and to feel gratitude for what is coming through for you. That is an acknowledgement that you are already receiving, that you are already allowing things into your life. And that flow is interrupted and halted through guilt. So what I would say is that the most important thing that you can do is connect to your practice of gratitude. And I know it sounds so basic. Everyone tells you keep a gratitude journal, but I'm telling you to be in awareness of what is already flowing into your life in every form of abundance. Smiles from strangers, compliments, hugs, money, opportunity, peace, space, rest, whatever is flowing into your life in abundance, you can find gratitude for that. And to be able to find gratitude, I think we've talked about in the past too, like, you know, unique gratitudes, giving yourself 3 to 5 unique gratitudes a day actually does change your brain. But you're also allowed to be grateful for things over and over again. I'm grateful every morning when I wake up for that snuggly little hour where the dogs are still sleeping and snoring all around us, where Ethan's still laying next to me with his eye mask on, and I have my little night light that I turn on and I do my journaling. And I'm so grateful for my family and my cozy bed and that time with myself and the home that houses us that we built together. I'm grateful for the same things every day. like honestly, and I still find new things to be grateful for on top of that. So if some days all you can find are the things that you've already expressed gratitude for, good. As long as you're remaining and staying in a vibration of gratitude, it is magnetic. It is extraordinarily magnetic. Now, there is another layer to this that I do want to talk about, which is the story of unworthiness, right? Like there's clearly a story of unworthiness here, Alexandra, that like you can only have a certain amount. And then at that point, there has to be some sort of sacrifice or reciprocity that you give back. There always has to be some sort of loss in order for you to receive. That's a story that needs to be addressed. And it's a story that needs to be rewritten and changed. And the only way to change that story is through being with that story and challenging it every single day as it appears to you. Being with the awareness that there's a part of you that doesn't believe that you are worthy. And we have to continuously reprogram into your mind that you are. You only believe that because you've been telling yourself that constantly and then inviting in opportunities and experiences that will validate that story for you. I just had a session today with a client where we were talking about this very thing where she invites emotionally unavailable people into her life, especially in romantic relationships, to validate a story that she's not worthy of love. And it's interesting. You'd think like, why would I want to believe that? Why would I try to validate that story? Because that's the pattern of living through our ego. Living through our ego means we recognize what doesn't work. And instead of taking that and using that information to rebuild through our intuition, we just stay with the ego and we go, you're right. I'm a piece of shit. I'm garbage. Everyone hates me. No one loves me. I'm nothing. And I don't deserve love. And when we stay there, when we stay in that place, obviously our life is going to continue to reflect that until we can be with the story and actively challenge it every single day. That's when we set ourselves free. And that's one of the things that I'm excited to do in the container. I'm excited to sit with people literally in an unlimited capacity day in and day out and support you in challenging those beliefs, identifying them and challenging them so you no longer have to live through them. So you can instead live freely and completely as your most true, authentic self who knows that you are worthy, who is already connected to the fact that you are worthy and deserving of all things and all levels and layers of abundance. So Alexandra, connect to your gratitude practice. That's the first step. And then every single day where you find that fear voice speaking to you, pause and talk back to it. Start a conversation and challenge that voice and let it know it doesn't get to tell you how this goes. You tell it how it goes. And how it's going is that you are worthy of receiving abundance. You are able to receive more, and that you don't have to feel guilty for being in a space of receptivity. You deserve every good thing that flows into your life. So thank you, Alexandra, for submitting that. And please, again, let us know how it goes. Keep writing in. Let us know how this is continuing to unfold for you. Last but certainly not least, let's take one more question. So this says, hi, Zoey. I'm a newer fan that is diligently working my way through all 11 seasons. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you need to listen to the first couple. And I'm so glad that I found my way home to this community. Recently, during my binging, I heard you say something that stuck with me. You said that intuition is a relationship, and like any relationship, sometimes it needs repair. I don't remember saying that, but sounds really smart and wise of me. I love that. That line hit me like a lightning bolt because I think I'm in that phase right now. For years, my intuition felt really loud. I'd get chills, dreams that came true, songs that answered questions I hadn't even asked yet. It was constant. But lately, it's gone completely quiet. I'm still meditating, journaling, and pulling cards, all the same things I've always done. But it's like there's no one on the other end of the line anymore. Ugh, I hate that. Did I do something to block it? No. Or is it just part of my spiritual growth, like a test of trust? I know you've said before that silence can be sacred, but right now it just feels really lonely. With so much love and gratitude for everything you share, Leah. Whoo, Leah. First of all, no, you have not blocked it. And no, it is not a test. I will be the first to say spirit never tests you. That's not how the universe works. The universe doesn't test you. I want to be so extremely clear about that. The universe gives you opportunities to see the way that you have changed in the face of familiar foes or foibles or things that used to catch you, things that used to really get you. But it's not about proving to the universe that you're ready for more. It's about proving to yourself that you're past whatever that experience is, so that you now believe that you can have more. It's about changing your own mind. It's about reflecting to you where you've grown. So first of all, I want you to know the universe does not test you. That's just a little soapbox I got to get up on for a second. Next, what I would say is, I know this wound intimately. I've seen this time and time and time again in my students. And what I would love to remind you of is the fact that intuition is responsive. It is responsive. And so what I would lovingly say is that you are probably not taking inspired action on the things that Spirit has already guided you to do. So Spirit will not provide more information than you need. It will only ever give you the message of what to do next. And then it responds with more information, more clarity, next steps, opportunity when you take action on what you've already been told. Ooh, I know, babe. It is not that Spirit is not present. It is not that your intuition is not blocked. It's that you got a message to do something and you didn't want to do it and you didn't like it and you thought, no, thanks. Tell me something else. Tell me something different. Tell me something I want to hear. And there's probably just a lot of fear sitting there. Like when Spirit starts to tell us things that we don't feel ready for, which by the way, it never does. It only tells you things when you are ready. It never tells you things you're not ready for, but we may not feel ready. We may not know that we're ready. So when that happens, we turn it away and go, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to know that. No, thanks. No, thanks. No, thanks. It doesn't feel safe and it doesn't feel good to receive that information. And what I would love for you to know is that it is safe. It is safe. And Spirit is giving it to you, speaking it to you, sharing it with you because you are the person who can hold it. You are the person meant to pursue it. And through that knowledge, through that invitation, through that experience, you are able to feel a sense of trust that allows you to begin to take action, which then opens back up the channel of intuition. But I have to be honest with you, this doesn't happen unless on some level we are pushing the signal away because we don't feel ready to receive it or we don't feel ready to take the steps that Spirit is asking us to take. So I would ask you, revisit the messages that you've already received and experience where they're feeling challenging for you. Experience where they feel like they're pushing back against you, where they feel confronting. And know that that is where you're being asked to lean in. There's no additional information. There's no better message waiting for you. This is what Spirit needs you to know. And it's what Spirit needs you to act on. And as you do, more will arrive. More clarity will flow in, more connection, a deeper sense of being supported. I promise you, as you take this first step, you will feel your angels, guides, guardians, ancestors enter in immediately. They will be with you in that exact moment. You will no longer feel alone because you will realize that you are not walking alone. You will realize that you are not by yourself. But you've got to take the step to find that out. And I'm just so grateful, Leah, for your trust in me as a channel, allowing me to answer this question for you. And as always, I am so incredibly grateful to hold this space for each and every one of you, for those that wrote in and for those listening. So with that, there you have it, blessed babes. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode. And I would love if we could take a moment to send this week's subject, you, some love, sweetness, and positivity as we continue to grow together. If you are interested in talking to me more about the experience of the container, you can visit zoegreco.com/discover to book your free discovery call now. Connect with me about the podcast if you're interested in being on the show at podcast@zoegreco.com, and connect with me on all socials at the Zoey Greco. If you've got questions, I really am in my DMs, you guys. Like, ask me. I'm there. Let's have a conversation. And of course, I want to conclude by reminding you that you are important. You matter. You are perfect exactly as you are. I love you. Your spirit guides love you, and the universe loves you. So until next time, keep answering the call of your higher self. Bye, friends.